Welcome. Take it up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Kyle Abel, who is the sales enablement leader at Guidewire. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks, Jessica. It's an honor to be here.
I know about Guidewire a little bit. You guys provide technology for the insurance companies, having the tools that they can then allow their consumers to go in and make changes, and also just managing the relationship with partners and all that. It's been you guys have been doing really well, been growing really well, and I wanted to hear more about the innovation taking place, and then go into sales enablement because I know you have a lot of tips to share with us. How has it been going?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I started in the industry in the mid aughts, so 2005, 2006, and until about I want to say 2010, 2011, it was kind of slow as far as innovation, and the iPhone effect definitely took hold, and all of the customer expectations, the consumer expectations of all of us of just expecting personalized experience and instant information on your phone, and Amazon with predicting the what you might be interested in. All of those expectations hit a lot of different industries, as I'm sure you know, and property and casualty insurance is absolutely one of those. I'd be hard pressed to find anyone at this point that would not like a very easy one click experience buying insurance. So it's been pretty exciting the last 10 years, I would say, in property and casualty, trying to meet those consumer demands, and a lot of old systems running 30-year-old codes that just weren't built with those kind of demands on them. So it's been great, and we've been really fortunate to have over 400 customers now worldwide, and we are just honored to serve them.
Yeah, I know you also have shifted your product from the traditional on-prem kind to now completely a cloud technology. You have to rewrite all of that, so it's been a big change for you. Take advantage of the cloud transformation here.
That's
Uh,
right.
your clients are very big clients, so these are multi-million dollar deals. These are long sales cycles. You have over 225 sellers that you're supporting on the sales enablement front. So let's talk about that. um, one of the challenges sales enablement has is being able to look at how your effort, your content, your training programs, and all of that truly makes a difference. But tell us about that. How do you measure? What are some of the KPIs?
Sure, sure. So we follow loosely a Kirkpatrick model, and this is something we've gotten better at. I've been at Guidewire in sales enablement for 8 years, and every year we try to get a little bit better. But it all starts. We have a consistent survey we do at the end of any workshop or session that we do, and it's just a simple: how useful was this? Very useful to not useful. And so that gives us some instant feedback, and we've used that scale. We convert it into a 0 to 100, so it has a little more context. But we've used that for, I think, the entire 8 years that I've been there. So that gives us some level to compare our programs from one to another. Another thing we do is an impact score. So this gets a little farther from just was it useful to how useful was it. So we may ask a question relevant to the content before the session or at the beginning of the session, like how confident are you doing selling X, Y, and Z, or if A, B, and C happened, how would you respond, and have some multiple choice. And then we'll do the session, and then we'll ask the exact same question at the end, and that allows us to measure actual impact. Or are we moving the needle by what percent, right? And then some of the other things that we've started incorporating over the last couple of years is quizzes. So having active recall of the training. So sometimes we'll do it as it's happening because we feel like that may be needed for certain aspects. But increasingly, we're trying to provide a little bit of space, a week, 2 weeks before we have that quiz. So again, it kind of uh, keeps it somewhat top of mind, right? If you try to extend out that time frame a little bit to keep it top of mind. And then one of the things we're trying to do really the last year or two is, after a period of time, call it 3 months after a training event, we may go back to the attendees and say, okay, it's been 3 months. Have you used this out in the field? If so, what has been the feedback? If not, why? What else would have been helpful during the training, right? So you're getting a little further away from the actual event or the training or the coaching or whatever the enablement is. And then the last piece, which is the hardest, but I think ultimately is going to be the piece that allows you to complete the whole view of an enablement event, is tying attendance and participation in a training event to actual revenue, influencing revenue. So we're starting to get some tools in place that makes this a little bit easier, where we can say, let me see all of the people that attended this workshop and their percentage of quota attainment. And can we correlate? There won't be, it's impossible to make a causation of it, but can we correlate an attendance of this training with a higher quota attainment, for example? So there's not any one of those is more important than the other. There's no silver bullet, unfortunately, in enablement. Believe me, we've been looking for 8 years. But if you take all of that together, you can paint a pretty good picture of how effective your enablement sessions are.
Yeah, and I think that with the use of digital content and digital assets, you can see the conversion of a prospect looking at certain content you're sharing
Mhm.
to whether they then get more engaged in this interaction as they're moving down that pipeline, right, to
Mhm.
actually taking on a conversation, getting a demo, signing up for POC and all that. And I think so, I think that the analytics are there, and the data will allow you to track it more accurately as you use more digital assets.
Yeah, and what we're finding is a lot of the tools now will not only show you customer XYZ accessed this presentation or this video, it will show you how much time they spent on a particular slide or a page if it's a PDF, or did they watch the entire video or did they drop off after 2 minutes or something. So those deeper analytics give you great insight into what they're most interested what they're interested in, obviously, and you can tailor the rest of your touch points with the customer that way. Some of the systems that we're looking at will, based on the attributes of the deal, or the product type, or the geography, or something like that, stage of the deal, it will actually suggest training to the seller or other relevant content. So we're super excited about just the possibilities that are out here that really didn't exist 5 years ago. So it's pretty exciting.
The one thing that I find fascinating is how much personalized, specific deal content you in the enablement team is actually helping the sales reps to close deals. Because often you're creating content that's supposed to be scalable for
Mhm.
a lot of people, right? But here you're talking about a specific company you're targeting and the content you need to help close that deal.
Yeah, and I give credit to the team members and the leaders that started sales enablement at Guidewire, that they always impressed upon us the need to carve out some time in our week or in our month, even just buffer in case something comes up that we can help out in a deal. And we've always done that. We found it's incredibly helpful for us to just continue the relationship with the sellers. And so when we are rolling out the scalable programs that they're buying in, and we can get the feedback and so forth. But it really helps us keep connected to the field, and what the customers are actually asking for and what the sellers think is most um, useful out in the field. So I think of it as kind of a virtuous cycle, that we learn about what they want on the deal specifically. We help them create that, and then we can back it up and say, okay, now how can we scale this knowledge or scale this practice to the rest of the world. So yeah, it's something we've always done, and I highly recommend that for other enablement teams.
And you have all in-house talent, right, for actually strategizing, creating the content. You're so in a way, it's like I feel your team must be very thrilled to actually have the responsibility and also given the chance to make creative assets.
Yeah, I think so. It's a bit of credibility building that you have to do. It's interesting when you see someone new come on the team. You can almost chart the point in their tenure when when they'll start being pulled into deals. There's some credibility building that you have to do, just because a sales rep or any seller is going to be hesitant to bring in someone that they don't really know, to really work on deals that and work on assets they're going to send out. So it's a good kind of test, a little litmus test of how you're doing, how you're being perceived. But yeah, it's a chance to try new things, to put into practice all the things that we actually teach. So to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and show that what we teach we actually believe in, and that we can execute.
Now, there are a couple of best practices that I'd like to ask you to share because you've been doing it for a while and certain things you have found to be highly recommended, right? Tell us about the consistent programs and what else do you want to share?
Sure. So I make it my own personal mission at Guidewire to really protect the seller's time and attention, because by definition, when you ask them to consume training of any kind, you're asking them to not spend time selling and instead to focus their time on the training. So we're very deliberate in putting ourselves in the seller's shoes and what would they expect, what would make their lives easiest. And we've come to the conclusion that as far as training goes, internal focus training, consistency in um, the where to find training, when to find it, when should they expect the training, what that training should look like. That consistency is really, really important, because you don't want the sellers guessing where do I go to find this training versus this other training, right? That's just time that they don't need to spend if you can avoid it, right? It should be a single spot, and they should know every Friday we have a webinar, or every month we have a newsletter that's going to come. And those are two things that specifically that we have done for 8 years. We actually don't do a weekly webinar. It's usually every other week. Sometimes it is weekly, depending if we have a product launch or something like that. But it's the same time, Friday, 10 p.m. or I'm sorry, 10 a.m. In Dallas time, which is where I am. It's 45 minutes long. It has a very familiar flow to it. We know there's going to be questions at the end. We know the following Monday you're going to get a recording if you didn't see it, right? So all that consistency, I think, is very important. And then on the monthly newsletter, we just recognize that if a seller has an active deal, they are going to be heads down. They're really not going to be looking out for training that's coming or new assets. So we've put into place a monthly newsletter that just spans the previous month, and it's a kind of in case you missed it. So we'll bubble up the training, the new assets, the new customer stories or win stories, right? Anything that if they were heads down on a deal that they should know about, we'll put it in that newsletter. And it comes the second Thursday of every month at the same time, in the same format, which we've tweaked the format a little bit here and there, but by and large, it's the same. So, we really feel strongly that the consistency and predictability is really, really important.
Yes, I agree with you. You don't want them to be wasting their time looking for an asset or a training that they miss. So yes, absolutely. These are great tips. Okay, Kyle. Well, the year's ending. It's been a challenging year, but there must be some changes that you probably think it's good to keep next year, even once we're allowed to get back together, right? Tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, and I would suggest that every team take the opportunity to do a year-long not a year-long, but a retrospective over the past year. We'll be doing this. My team will be doing this when we get together here in a couple weeks. But everyone is rightfully so ready to turn the page on 2020. But I think it would be a missed opportunity to not take a look back and see what were some of the things that we had to do that maybe we would like to keep doing. So for example, for us, one of the things that we're looking at doing is we were forced to do a virtual sales kickoff. Our fiscal year ends in the end of July. So in August, we would normally bring everyone together, all 200 plus sellers. Very time consuming, obviously very expensive. And we did that virtually, of course. And we actually got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of efficiencies that we gained, not only in the preparation, but having speakers more readily available, and then people obviously not having to travel from different parts of the world. So we're looking at, we would normally have two of those. We're looking at doing one probably at the beginning of the year because it's more of a celebration, a kickoff kind of feel. So having everyone together makes sense. But maybe the mid-year one, doing that virtually. So again, we can not have to have everyone travel, both times for just a couple days. So that's one of the things we're doing, as well as just some of the lessons learned about facilitating workshops virtually. It's just different, right? Not trying to do this a meeting the exact same way that you would do if you're all in the same room, and trying to do that over Zoom, that doesn't work. So we've actually learned a lot about that. But yeah, that'd be my suggestion, and what we're looking forward to is pulling out the things that we were forced to do that actually might be good things to keep doing, and just try to get some kind of positive out of this terrible COVID experience.
Great idea. I think we're going to be doing that too, because working remotely and being able to reach out to so many speakers outside of Silicon Valley has been a big plus. So that's also an example on my side where I think we're going to be keeping on doing that.
Yep. And I think for the sellers, I don't know how readily the customers will be opening their doors for people just getting off a plane and so forth. There might be a longer tail on that, or maybe an indefinite, that um, the access you have, the in-person access, is probably going to be a little more limited. So just taking another look at what are the activities in the deal cycle that really must be done in person, or should be done in person, and what things might actually be better virtually. I think going through that analysis, we're going to be doing that a lot this year and making recommendations along with the sales managers.
That's right. The best of both worlds.
Right.
Thank you for being on the show, Kai. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Jessica.
There you have it. Check it out with Jessica Lee, Kyle Abel from Guidewire.